Well, with December 13th coming up, that will be the sentencing or the plea bargain negotiation. What would you like to see Jewish Americans or Christian Americans or secular Americans who are just concerned about seeing justice served do?
Correct. Let's just focus on justice. Nothing to do with Jewish, Christian, nobody. Islam, nobody. Justice. Simple facts. Doesn't take a whole lot of sophistication or 20 years in law school to figure it out. One man, in a rage or whatever, picked up an instrument and struck another man. And that striking of him caused his death. I'd like to know the legal definition of of the crime he committed and the appropriate punishment for that. Now, you tell me 4 years, I tell you our judicial system is insane. This man should have, not only should sit many years, but, I mean, frankly, he should be given some sort of psychological counseling. Do you know what you did? Do you know what's wrong? Do you know it's a terrible thing? You know it's a bad thing to do? Some sort of realization, but he's going to be treated as a hero.
But when Derek Chauvin, the policeman who was responsible, supposedly
George Floyd,
for George Floyd, people called for his hanging.
That's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Well, but he's sitting in jail for a long time.
Okay, he committed an undefensible act. He did a wrong thing.
perhaps, because now
it's coming out that maybe he felt he was threatened. Maybe he was overreacted. At the
or
end
maybe George Floyd was on drugs.
Maybe. Who knows what?
That's where.
And the guy's trying to defend himself. Because you think about yourself and saying, why would I want to be a policeman? my own country doesn't. I'm defending my society, and my society doesn't defend me.
Do you think American Jews are being too complacent in this case?
I think American Jews are too complacent all over the place.
But now, when one of us has been killed,
okay, so we're dealing here now with a loss of life due to a Arab Palestinian, if you want to call it that, act of violence. I mean, is something I'm missing?
This is a model.
It's
a model case for Muslims across the world to see what Jews will do and what the court will do. It's a model just like George Floyd.
It's a model case for the Muslims all over the world and for Americans to see what American justice will do. Well, they're on trial.
If Americans don't feel that justice is being done, they're not protesting before the verdict.
I got a whole bunch of people that find that these celebrities are saying, "Oh, Trump got elected. I'm out of here."
Good.
Well, who would want to stay in a country where your own life and limb is not protected? Let's get out of here. So we're dealing with a very significant deterioration of the American society. Now, of course, you can argue it's a one isolated case, but that can lead to loads of other cases.
It's so isolated that it's the only death on American soil of a Jew at the hands of a Muslim since October 7th.
It's the only death, but there have been plenty of assaults.
Yeah, plenty of assaults, but it's the only death.
But, when you deal with assaults, it's easy to say mutual combat. And to not punish anybody or punish them both. And that's an altercation. Two guys got in an argument in the bar. Bam, bam, bam. So obviously, how does the judge look at that kind of situation? He's got a problem. But there's no problem here. There's one man who assaulted another. One man who was armed with something in his hand, be that the microphone. Another man who had nothing. And one man attacked another man. And that man lost his life. 2 + 2 is 4.
So where's the Jewish leadership on this issue? Or should people just start writing letters themselves to the Ventura County Court?
Well, I think if you want to make this public, which it needs to do, and it's because it's not an isolated incident. It's an incident that could bear fruit for many other incidents to happen. And should the Jewish people take this on as a cause? Absolutely. So you go to the recognized Jewish leadership. But if you had a problem with a meeting with a Jewish senator in Washington, what would it be if you called a meeting or called the President of the Federation if he took your call, that is, and asked him for a meeting with the leadership of the Jewish Federation to come behind this cause, and with the leadership of the American Jewish Congress, American Jewish Committee, and B'nai B'rith and Hillel, and so forth. That's for a starter.
What do you think about groups like HIAS, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, who are importing Muslims into the country?
They're jokers. they're meaningless.
How are they meaningless?
Because they lost their mission, I think, right after the war. After the war, they were bringing Jewish people in, or resettling Jewish people, and giving them jobs or whatever in the United States. But ever since then, I mean, within less than 10 years after World War II, their organization means nothing.
But they're importing Afghanis. They're importing Syrians
because they need to self-survive. They want that organization to keep on going. They have an organization. They don't want to lose it. But their reason for existence is extinct. There's no need for them anymore.
Are they importing Afghani or Syrian Jews?
No, they're importing Muslims. They're importing Muslims. Okay. They're importing Muslims, and especially from the Middle East.
It's no different than any other Jewish organization that during the 60s stood behind the civil rights movement.
Sure.
Of course. You feel bad for other people. Of course, on the other hand, we have a Jewish teaching, a Bible teaching, in fact, that says the opposite.
What?
Love your friend or neighbor as yourself. That means you come first. For instance, man's knocking on my door. Knock, knock, knock. Hello, I'm poor. I need money. Could you help me? I didn't have dinner tonight. Could you give me some money for food? I look at him and say, why? I didn't have dinner either. I'm going to love you just like myself. I don't have dinner. You don't have dinner. Get out. Is that what the Bible meant? Is that what God meant? No. God said that you have to certainly, and the Talmud explains it, chayecha koidem, your life comes first. When you understand the value of your life, you understand that the value of someone else. But it operates in a gradational level, this whole mitzvah. It operates in the sense that your family comes first before someone else's. And that's healthy. Because then, with that sense of kinship, you can then extend to someone else's family or to your extended family. Certainly your children are more important to you than your cousins. And that's normal. That's exactly what the Torah and the Bible is teaching.
Yeah, but should we be importing potential anti-Semites?
That's counterproductive. That's just being silly and being irresponsible and frankly working without any seichel, as we would say, any brains. But the point is that Jews should be helping Jews first. Then you help others. But if Jews are not helping Jews first, and they're helping others instead, that's unhealthy. That's psychologically unhealthy.
So with this case coming up before Christmas time, which is a time when there's lots of generosity and goodwill towards men, there's a good chance that the court, the judge, may extend compassion in a case. And
I never heard of a situation where you can extend compassion to someone who committed an act of violence. Never. There was no such thing. He was in a rage. He was upset. He caught a man with his wife. He got upset and shot him.
You still have to pay your...
That's unacceptable. Whatever action you want to take in terms of, let's say, your cause, be it my wife, or my country, or my Palestine, or whatever it is, it doesn't extend to violence. At that point in time, then justice has to step in. At that point in time, the United States has to assert itself in terms of a law-abiding and a law-governed country. Otherwise, it's a joke. The whole thing's a joke. The whole judicial system is a joke.
So what does it say at this point that Jews have not come out and demonstrated besides the ones on the location there in Moore Park or Thousand Oaks?
So there's been a number of people that have come out, but oddly enough, they're Israelis. Israelis
should be taking the lead in this case because it was the Israeli flag which triggered these guys.
Sure. So there's a group of women. I find this reprehensible because You can't get men or boys, or college-age, guys.
They're busy.
They've got other things.
I got to move on with my life.
Yeah.
That's me. What about everybody else? What about your fellow Jew? What about your kinsman?
Yep.
Selfish. Our society is selfish. Our society breeds selfishness because our society tells us that there's one God in the world, the almighty dollar. That's all that matters. I got a college education. I'm going to a university where they're protesting against me. I'm in Columbia. I can't quit Columbia now because, after all, I got to get my degree and make a living.
Well, but I don't see yeshivas bringing their bachorim out there to protest either.
Good point. So how do we respond to that?
Will you get them to? Can you?
I would certainly tell you that I'd make that statement. Would parents, comfortable parents, in Thousand Oaks, Agoura, North Hollywood, San Fernando Valley, want their children to go out into a same spot where this guy was killed?
No.
Would the parents want them to?
Would the parents allow them? Would I allow my 16-year-old to? Now, some kids are pretty, rebellious, which isn't a bad idea sometimes, and are not particularly interested in listening to what their parents have to say about stay quiet, shah still, don't make a ruckus.
But they're bachurim, or they're Orthodox people who have the time to do something after work. Could come after work.
If this was organized in a way that we had the Orthodox community within itself does not have a really organized leadership.
They come out for Hanukkah parties.
Oh, so that's Chabad.
Where's Chabad in this thing?
Chabad is an infrastructure, no doubt about it. Where's Chabad in this thing? It's not fair to throw the gauntlet on top of Chabad. They have been in the forefront of a lot of issues.
Chabad had showed, Rabbi Brisky from Thousand Oaks had showed up at a rally the following week after I got back from Washington. And that's when people started to assemble. So in the following weeks, we continued to rally there, and we were getting a lot of people and zero attendance from any Palestinians or any Muslims.
Because there were more Jews?
No, because I believe that they were told by the defense attorney, you guys better stay clear of Westlake Village.
Don't get in any more trouble?
Yeah. I'm fairly certain that that's what caused that to happen.
It's probably a fair assumption.
What would Rabbi Meir Kahane have done in this situation?
Well, this is emblematic and symbolist and reflective of 1968, 69, 70, 71 in New York City. Which extended to other cities, including Chicago, L.A., Philadelphia, and so forth, in which he marshaled up young people, perhaps to their parents' chagrin, and got them to feel the pain of another Jew and got them to feel the sense of their own national identity. And he formed large protests and groupings and so forth. And he was a person who had that kind of charismatic leadership that made a big difference in the mindset and the attitude of American Jews per se. American Jews, particularly Orthodox, want to hide themselves. The Orthodox can't. We're stuck. We look the part.
I don't know, when there are big dinners, everyone's out there with their finest dress.
Right. Doesn't necessarily make them look Jewish. But
no, but when it comes time for parties, they're coming out.
Correct.
How about when it comes to their dignity and their honor as people?
This is the kind of singular case in which people aren't taking notice. Again, you'd argue, well, it's one person. But then wait a second. What's the difference between One person in 100. Nothing.
No.
So you'll tell me, well, the Jews have killed 40,000 in Gaza, assuming that that's accurate. But what about the 1,200 before that? Well, it's disproportionate. I understand. Okay, so we're going to be proportionate, says the State of Israel. What did you do to these 1,200 and the hostages you took, 250 and all the babies you killed? We'll go in there and isolate and do the exact same thing. We'll take 1,200, we'll kill 1,200 people. We'll also shoot a few babies, destroy a few families, and of course, and rape a few women. And then, of course, proportionately, we'll take 250 hostages. That's not the answer. That's dumb. The answer is that you've been attacked. You have an obligation to hit back to the point where you stop it from ever happening again. If two people are into a fight and some guy slugs you, and he runs away, so you don't have an obligation to run after him and slug him back because he's afraid of you anyway. He ran away. If you do, then that's an act of revenge. Revenge is not right. But if he slugs you, and he keeps on slugging you until you slug him back, that's retaliation. That's not legitimate. That's a mitzvah. Slug him till he's down. Make sure that you're safe and you're protected. So we have a loss of one single human life. It happens to be personal to us because he's a kinsman. He's a Jew. But that singular human life that's lost cannot be obscured because we need bigger numbers. Justice should be served on this case simply to say the loss of singular human life is a disgrace to humanity, particularly if it came out of a proactive and aggressive act of violence. We say that if you save one life,
Save the world.
you save the world. And you know why? Because when God created the world, he created lots of animals, lots of fish, lots of birds, lots of stars. But he created one person, one human being. The whole world is worth one human being. The loss of one human being is the diminishment of our own humanity, each and every one of us. And that can't be tolerated.
So is this a matter just for the Jews of Los Angeles?
It's a matter of the United States. It's a matter of the American government. It's a matter of local government. It's a matter of determining whether or not Thousand Oaks is a safe place to live. And that the people who govern Thousand Oaks, the legislature or the mayor or whatever city structure of government you have, should be ashamed.
Well, what happened in Minneapolis became a whole national cause. How about this?
Why isn't Paul Kessler the Jewish George Floyd?
Or could it be and ought it be?
I think it ought to be. I don't think that... I think, for one thing, the media had this for 24 hours and let it go. I don't think they were interested.
But listen...
Why wouldn't they be interested?
Not a question.
Jews don't matter.
No, but among Jews, look how October 7th has become a Jewish cause.
It's not become an American cause.
Okay, but among Jews across the country...
Fine. Because, again, we fall into the same trap. Big numbers, 1,200. If, let's say...
Oh, 1,200 killed in Israel.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say on October 7th, one Palestinian breached the wall and found one Jew and shot that one Jew. Big deal. I mean, let's put it this way. Through the years, Hamas in the south and Hezbollah in the north have been raining rockets and bombs on Jews and Jewish settlements and civilians for the last 20 years. And no one said a word. Oh, you know why? Because we got the drone and we could stop it. That doesn't mean that's right. One singular missile that's fired there deserves 500 missiles back until they stop. And they haven't. And the same thing here. People get a message that Jewish life is cheap.
John, is there somewhere that people can contact to coordinate letter writing and petition submitting? Can they do that through you?
Sure, absolutely.
What about a mass
Contact you.
mailing that would ask Jewish people on the day of December 13th?
Yeah.
Before.
No, on that day.
To ask them before to do something when?
To assemble on December 13th in front of that courthouse. I want 500 Jews in front of that courthouse on December 13th. Let the media take notice of that.
Will the media take notice of it?
Well,
We have to get the media. I mean,
you
so the media hasn't even been.
You bring me 100, and I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll bring a Torah to that meeting, and I'll bring a table, and I'll put the Torah on the table, and I will read the Torah as a religious service in front of those 100 people. And that religious message that I will read will be part of a service that will petition God to bring a message of decency and humanity through the religious message. And that's the message of the Jewish people.
Okay.